Judiciary Safety and General Services being on page 19 of the digest. There are two items, items 28 and 29. The supervisor requests separate action.
Mr. Chairman, item 28.
Item 28. All right, we will take them separately. We'll start with item 28. All right. And I believe there's an amendment that's been distributed on item 28.
Item 28, file number 19-273, a resolution requesting the governor and state legislature include provisions in the 2019 through 2021 biennial state budget, or to introduce a standalone bill permitting full driver's license access to all Wisconsin residents, regardless of immigration status or fines imposed. Amendment 1 pending.
All right, Supervisor Ortiz-Velez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment, but I wanted to briefly talk about the resolution first, and then I'll present the amendment. Really, this is a resolution about public safety. And I really don't think it's a place for us to have the conversation about how people feel about immigration or not, because it's really the federal government's job to really get their act together on these issues. But it is our job to make sure that our public is safe at the local level. That is our task. And with that being said, I wanted to share some data with my colleagues here today. What does the data say? Well, when California expanded driver's licenses, eligibility issues, the numbers of hit-and-run accidents dropped because undocumented licensed drivers involved in accidents could remain on the scene without fear of deportation. Also, in New Mexico, since 2003, the rate of uninsured vehicles have decreased 24%, and traffic fatalities fell 23%. And in Utah, since 2005, uninsured motorist rates have dropped from 28% to 8%. And there are quite a bit of benefits for our state. One, we could reduce the number of uninsured drivers. We could reduce premiums. Reduce barriers to driver's license will also help if there is an accident. And we have first responders on the scene and healthcare professionals so they can be able to identify the individuals they are assisting. Law enforcement will be able to identify people easier. People will be able to provide law enforcement with the proof of identity acceptable to law enforcement. Currently, undocumented immigrant residents who can't get a driver's license cards are blocked from registering vehicles. That would be a great place for Wisconsin to get revenue so we can improve our roads and other things. And finally, just two more points I want to make is when Wisconsin bans people from obtaining driver's license, it prevents them from completely knowing the knowledge and skills and going through the assessment required for other drivers on the road. And I think that's very important that people know the rules of the road. Also, there has been some concerns about voting, and this was brought up in committee, and I want to address this quickly. Some people have said this might be some ruse to vote illegally. I can assure you that people who are here really don't want any contact with any police. So, I mean, that's really not something that's a priority for those people. Also, we will be clearly identifying, the bill clearly identifies not eligible for voting purposes, like they've done in many other states. So, and really, a driver's license is not a citizenship card. So that's been a confusion too. A driver's license is really just one form of identification used for voting. There are many other forms that are acceptable. I think that the bill is addressing that issue as well. For the amendment, I wanted to address that quickly. I did draft an amendment because I wanted to be clear that we stand with the governor in what he's proposed currently. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, Supervisor, you've offered Amendment 2 to
I would like
28.
to move to adopt Amendment.
Right. Supervisor Ortiz-Velez moves to adopt Amendment 2 to item 28. Anyone else wish to speak on adoption of the amendment? Supervisor Moore-Mukunde.
Can we have a brief description of what Amendment 2 does?
Sure. Supervisor Ortiz-Velez, did you wish to describe the amendment further?
Yes, Amendment 2 deletes line 55, and it also adds in, because at the time I drafted this, it hadn't been sent out by the governor yet. They hadn't adopted it, so it also addresses the fact that we're supporting what he has proposed.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Moore-McCundy, does that sufficiently address your question? Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on the item? Supervisor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To reiterate my esteemed colleague of the 12th District, this is not about whether or not we support immigration reform. This is indeed about public safety. And I rise to ask to be listed as a co-sponsor of this amendment.
Okay. Hearing no objection, Supervisor Martin is added as a co-sponsor of item 28. On the amendment, anyone wish to speak on the amendment? Seeing no speakers on the amendment, on adoption of Amendment 2 to item 28.
Question is adoption of amendment number 2. Supervisor Cullen. Haas. Johnson Jr. Logsdon. Martin. Moore-McCundy. Nicholson. Ortiz-Velez. Schmidt. Sebring. Shea. Staskunis. Taylor. Wasserman. Weishan Jr. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
14 ayes, 2 noes.
14 ayes, 2 noes. Amendment 2 to item 28 is adopted. Adoption as amended is before the body. Anyone wish to speak further on adoption as amended? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, on adoption.
On adoption, Supervisor Cullen. Haas. Johnson Jr. Logsdon. Martin. Moore-McCundy. Nicholson. Ortiz-Velez. Schmidt. Sebring. Shea. Saskunis. Taylor. Wasserman. Weishan Jr. Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
14 ayes.
14 ayes, 2 noes. Item is adopted. Congratulations. Item 29, please.